We'll get started. So welcome everybody. Glad you're here and interested in our upcoming Nest Yoga Teacher Training. I'm Kim Lally, and I am in charge of the studio. And I want to introduce our teacher trainers and guest teachers. So we have Darren, who is one of our guest teachers. He's going to be teaching the philosophy. Margi Young, one of our lead trainers. Leslie Howard, another lead trainer. Richard Rosen, teaching pranayama. What else are you teaching? History, stuff like that. No. Pranayama. And Gaby Cardoza, who is teaching vinyasa sequencing and cueing for us. And so we welcome you all in. I'd love to have you introduce yourselves, especially if some of us came later, we've forgotten. So why don't we start? Brittany, was there something in particular? Yeah, why don't you, if maybe just a little bit about you or where you practice yoga or why you might be interested in this, or just a little something.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'm Brittany. I practice at yoga in San Leandro. I'm a TA there, and I teach classes. I don't teach the classes, obviously. I just prep the studio and check books in and do all of that kind of stuff. But I average, maybe 4 classes a week there. I actually, you introduced yoga to our family. My daughter during COVID took your class at the Linda Park.
Oh yeah.
And she's graduating to our teacher training next week.
She is
at Left Coast, and so she's really, I grew her on a yoga family. She did something during COVID and started that, and then she started taking Keisha's class and did it for years. She just turned 18. She's graduating from YTT next weekend and then from high school the next weekend.
Wow.
And she inspired me really to become a yogi myself. And so I started doing for a friend who's a teacher, an instructor at Bloom, and then I've been doing it for 2 years now. And yeah, it's just yoga is taking over our time.
It does that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking I might be ready to do a training, and I am checking out Left Coast, and
she's very similar, I think.
Yeah, she is. She's an intensive, and so I don't know if that one for me, and this is really great. The pace thing will be maybe better for me.
Maybe, and it'll be a little different focus. We can go, which actually is a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
So it's all good, but there'll be a little different. Well, thanks, Brittany. It's welcome. Perry.
I'm Perry.
And that goes, but that's just enough.
I wish I wasn't already a yoga teacher because I think this is a great honor. And one of the reasons I'm here is to support Nest Yoga and the teachers that are in this program. And I'm a sponge for information.
Maybe you can drop into some of them.
So I'm also a certified yoga therapist. I came to yoga very late. I was 50 years old when I took my first yoga. I'm not your typical, started when I was 18, yogi. I have all sorts of injuries and aging issues. Yoga can serve everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, how mobile you are. So, I'm here to support this. It's wonderful.
Appreciate that. Okay, Stephanie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Stephanie, and I love yoga. I am a fitness instructor and a personal trainer. I was doing yoga at my club, but some of the classes just didn't line up with my schedule, so I was looking around and I found Nest, and I was like, $51 or whatever it is for 3 weeks, unlimited classes, and I came and I was like, and then I was looks really good, so here I am.
Perfect.
Excited to be here.
Okay. Welcome.
I'm Lori. I'm actually a kids yoga teacher. I've been teaching kids yoga for 10 years, but I never did the 200-hour training. I just did a kids yoga training. I love teaching kids. I teach from toddlers up to middle schoolers. The high schoolers are completely for me. But I started my own kids, so I brought home carloads of their friends, and I was like, let's play yoga. In terms of getting more philosophy and just different reading practices. And I wish that I had yoga as a kid. I didn't learn until I was an adult and I was pregnant, and so I started going to prenatal and really loved it. So, and then I found Margi like right before COVID. So I like met you at Wednesday, but then transitioned to Zoom, and I've still been Zooming with you because I live up in Newport. So yeah, so I'm really excited and interested in expanding my practice and learning more.
All right, great. Well, welcome. And Amber?
Hi, my name is Amber. I've been doing yoga for about 10 years now. So I just wanted to learn more about mindfulness, and I'm really interested in massage therapy. That's something I'd like to incorporate if I were to like do class. Nothing much, just interested.
Well, fantastic. Well, Darren is also a massage therapist, so you two can connect on that level as well. And I want to acknowledge too our online people. We have Andrea and Taylor. Welcome. If you'd like to unmute and tell us a little bit about you, we welcome you in. Andrea, why don't you go first?
Okay. Hi. Sorry, I logged in under my girlfriend's computer, her name is Andrea, but I'm Kelly Lou. Yeah, it's really nice to see all of you. I've been doing yoga kind of informally since high school, and I'm just trying to deepen my practice more regularly these days. And then also I work in a teaching clinic. I'm an attorney that teaches law students how to do like low income services, and I'm hoping to we're putting in a mindfulness component into our work at the clinic, and so I'm hoping to bring some yoga into that as well.
Well, thanks and welcome. So you said your name is Andrea. It's
It's Kelly.
Kelly. Okay,
Yeah.
that's it's Kelly, not Andrea. Okay. And then Taylor.
Taylor too.
Hi, everybody. I'm Taylor. I've been practicing yoga since college, so like for 12 years, 13 years. And I love my practice. I'm a teacher, I'm a kindergarten, first grade teacher, and so it really just supports me in supporting them. I work at a school where social emotional learning is really at the heart of what we do, and so my yoga practice and just has really supported me in learning about like social emotional, like I guess like emotional regulation, and teaching about mindfulness to young kids. So I've had my every couple of years I like check in with myself, and it like kind of comes up for me to do a teacher training. And when I saw that Margi was at the front of, or like one of the teachers leading, I was like, oh, okay, that may be a little sign from the universe, because I've been going to Margi for a really long time, and I love Margi. So yeah, I think that it would just support me in my career, and just like I also just had a little baby. I had a baby, and so I'm just thinking about like next steps in terms of like what I might want to do with kids, like be focused more like exclusively on social emotional, and I thought that maybe the yoga could be like a nice tie into that. So I also just love yoga. So, and I'm a hungry learner.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us. That's great. I wanted to acknowledge to everyone here and thank you for all for coming. This is great to share your expertise with all of us. And I know that Darren has a time commitment. He has to be out of here so that he can go teach in the class. So I thought we'll do a little overview of the program and talk to the other teachers in a moment. But if we can hear from Darren first, so that he could make his way, that would be great.
I would love to bring you all with me. My name is Darren. I teach Vinyasa yoga and restorative yoga and a bunch of other stuff here and around the area. And I will be doing philosophy, focused mostly on the Bhagavad Gita, which is one of the foundational texts for yoga from ancient India. And the reason I love philosophy is because most people come to yoga for the physical, and they quickly realize that something's happening inside. They can't always figure out what it is.
maybe they start crying in a yoga class, or they haven't decided to change their diet, but they just want to eat more healthy, or their relationships start to shift, and just everything comes into clearer focus. Sometimes it's big changes, sometimes it's subtle changes over time. But once you understand the philosophy underneath yoga, you're like, oh, that wasn't on accident, that was supposed to happen. And once you understand what's happening, you can do it in a more intentional and conscious way. And as yoga teachers, you can weave that into your classes, and you can also help your students navigate these things that come up for them, so that they realize that, wow, this is to be expected if you're, say, crying in class or something like that. You're not breaking, you're healing, and it's a beautiful, awesome thing. So we will be predominantly focusing on the Bhagavad Gita, but also weaving in some other stuff as well. And because I have to leave, and I apologize, I wish I could stay with you. If anybody has any questions about my particular portion of this program, you're welcome to come take a class with me as my guest. I teach here Thursday nights. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
That's a boss lady. Just, and we can take a restorative class, and we can hang out for a few minutes after class, and I'll answer any questions about the little bit that I'm going to be contributing. And the only other thing I want to say is it is a deep honor to sit up here and to look at this lineup. Each of these teachers is absolutely incredible in completely different ways. Like, I've been like sort of a fanboy for all of them for years. So it's pretty cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Darren. Darren, I have a question for you. One thing that will come up, and I think it's in on our website now, maybe in the description, is do you have preferred texts that you'll use? And are there other forms of media that you'll use with the teachings?
We'll predominantly be reading Eknath translation, just because it's a relatively easy translation. It's got a great commentary. We'll send that out to you, so you don't have to remember his big long name if you don't want. And I do love multimedia. Like I was lecturing in a different guest teacher in a different teacher training last night, and I was showing people clips from The Matrix, and we were talking about how that applies to yoga philosophy. So weaving in different things that sort of help translate this so that ancient wisdom, which doesn't seem particularly connected to our modern world, using more modern references is sort of my thing. I love it. Did that answer your question?
Yes. And Darren's questions will probably welcome in. Come on, no, it's great.
I have not.
Right up your alley.
I'm good with that.
One more question for you, Darren, and then we'll have you introduce yourself, okay? I don't think I just forget it. No, oh no. This is my break. Darren's portions will most likely be on Friday evenings, and we'll be explaining more about the formatting of the yoga teacher training in a couple of minutes, but Darren's portion will mostly be on the Friday evenings on Zoom. So it'll be kind of a fun way to join, easy to join. You don't have to worry about commuting to Oakland. All sessions, not just the Zoom sessions, but the Zoom only sessions, but all sessions will be recorded, and the recordings available to the trainees for probably at least 30 days after the training, maybe even longer. But in any case, just to set up like how we're structuring the training, we'll have Friday nights philosophy. So.
You know, like the rest of the world, I was thrown onto Zoom to do teaching, and, you know, thank you, COVID. And at first it was really hard. It was hard to connect with people. It was, you know, keep people's attention. But what I've learned is that some stuff actually translates almost better. People get to, like, they're in their jammies and they're having a cup of tea, and, you know, I can show videos and everybody can see and hear stuff. We can record it. Depending on the size of the group, we can break into smaller groups. There's just a lot you can do That's different than being in a physical space, but I don't think less than anymore. I think actually there's stuff I can do that I can't do in the studio. So I've learned a lot, not so much for asana teaching, I still like in person, but yeah, so I'm excited. Get a nice pair of jammies. Some nice
Your yoga
tea,
jacket.
and we'll snuggle up together and read the Bhagavad Gita and eat that on the.
Feel free, Darren, to exit stage left. whenever
I'm
you
gonna
need.
tiptoe out now.
Okay,
Is-
lovely.
Is there anything else?
Would you
Like I
like to
said-
meet our new arrivee quickly?
Yes.
Tell us your name. Welcome to the Nest Teacher Training. Tell us your name and a little bit about teacher training, why it's calling to you, questions, whatever.
And I did a yoga teacher training in Ecuador in 2018. So it's been quite a while. I ended up finishing my 300 hours like over on Zoom. So I've had like kind of some different experiences. I was just curious to learn more about different type of training.
Yeah, great. Well, you've come to the right place.
Studying of yoga.
Thank you. Remind me again, you said your name is
Rose.
Rose, thank you.
And what was your
Yes,
training in
yes,
Ecuador? Like what kind of yoga? That's kind of what I did. Caught it was very restorative and talking very, very gentle and very specific and regimented. So I've had experience with that. Curious about getting like a different angle of that.
Well, you'll meet Gaby, and this is a very different experience. But Gaby teaches our very strong vinyasa classes, and so it'll be a very different experience. So you're sure that's what it's all about. Great, well, welcome. Okay, Darren.
I'm gonna
Bye-bye.
go do what in the world.
Thank you for being here.
Go save the world.
I want to.
Well, the recording will
There'll be
be
a video.
available. Okay, so I thought if you haven't picked up a flyer and you'd like one, feel free to, or we can pass them around. And then I thought I would say a couple of little things about the teacher training before we get started, and then I'm gonna give it to Leslie. And Richard and Gaby. Gaby, do you have time constraints today? To what? Time constraints? No. Okay, thanks. Okay, so the teacher training begins on August 21st. And the structure of it is going to be Thursday on Zoom, a Friday on Zoom, Saturday and Sunday, 12:30 to 7:30 in the studio. And it's also on Zoom, those sessions. So the Thursday and Friday are both evenings, 5:30 to 8:30. So it's about every other weekend, but it's about a 4-day weekend, if you will. And then it's going to be held here at Nest. A lot of people ask, what is the philosophy? What is the overriding type of yoga that we are going to teach? And I would say the overriding type of yoga is an alignment-based hatha style that is influenced by Iyengar training and vinyasa training. Okay, so Left Coast, we talked about Left Coast, that's very much a vinyasa house, and they're doing a vinyasa training, which is great, and people love that, strong vinyasa training. We have strong vinyasa teachers, and we have restorative teachers, and we have everything in between. So that's what you're going to be learning, is basically what Nest represents on the schedule, is what will be represented in.
A lot of alignment, I'm gonna say. It's gonna lean for Leslie and myself, will lean on alignment as a way of finding clarity and openness and wonder in life.
And healing and health and.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So let's have Margi and Leslie, why don't you talk a little bit about how you want to structure your sessions and what we're going to be looking at, and, are we going to be doing yoga all day long? How are we breaking down the time? You pick.
Since you weren't at the last.
Okay, so the way that I'm gonna structure my sessions is we're gonna take categories of poses, meaning one session will be a focus on standing poses, one will be a focus on forward bends or back bends. And the way that I like to teach is going from the gross to the subtle. So kind of like where you place your foot, like from there to, can you align the central channel of your body, like, and everything in between. I actually started with vinyasa too, and as I got less young, I did less vinyasa because my body just couldn't do it. So that's how I got more into the Iyengar style of yoga. And I really loved the precision, the language and precision of the Iyengar method. I didn't like the strictness of it, but I learned how important what you say lands on the student, right? Like the more specific you can be, the less possibility there is for any error. That precision also goes to, it feeds into the energy body, the subtle body, which I'm very interested in too. So.
What is the subtle
The
body?
subtle body is the energy body that when I started yoga, I was like, yeah, whatever. But now that I've been doing yoga over 30 years, which I was trying to figure out today, oh my God, I've been teaching yoga for 30 years. I think I'm old. I feel the energy body. And I can't say it's not real because I have experience of it. So if you think about the major emotions of human beings, they're all felt on the central channel. Heartbreak, love, an unease in your belly, you just like, I can't talk, I feel choked up, it's all. And so I feel like there's a lot of interesting things to look at in that world. So is that it? Sure, yeah. So it won't be pure asana, but also one of my specialties is therapeutics. So, if someone's having some type of knee problem or ankle issue or lower back issues, we'll break it down to say, what could you do for the student? That they can touch the pose, but maybe it's not going to look like the one in the book.
Or the person next to them.
Or the person next to them.
Yeah. And you also have another focus in your research and training.
You mean the pelvis?
I do.
Okay. So, about 15 years ago, I myself had some pelvic floor issues and I had to kind of figure out what was going on with me. And like a lot of people, that turned into a gift because I figured it out and then I could help other people do it. And so I had the good fortune of, I feel so fortunate that UCSF reached out to me to ask me if I would be interested in doing some studies with them for yoga for incontinence, yoga for pelvic pain, 2 different studies. And they've done really well. And so that has become also a big focus of my work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Leslie likes to talk about humans born with the pelvis, by the way, which is everything. So it doesn't matter
That's right.
what the other identifying
All
characteristics might be, but everyone has a pelvis.
Very interesting.
And everyone came through.
And everyone came through a pelvis.
Well, you were there, you were in the pelvis.
I see.
Yeah.
You might have been
You
actually.
didn't go through it. Right.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, Margi.
Let's see, I'm just like thinking of all the different things that I could share. One is that I love the practice of meditation kind of woven into yoga. So we'll do some sitting and then, I think should just change the name of my class from yoga. It used to be yoga and meditation, but then once in a while someone would be like, when are we gonna do the meditation? And I would be like, oh, wait, at the end for like 7 minutes, because I think of the whole thing as being like a big meditation. So I changed the name to Yoga for Mindfulness. And that's really like what it's about, because how wonderful it is to be able to move away from all the terror and fear and spiralings of the mind, just come into like the truth of this moment and the truth of having a body. And as far as teacher training, it's the interesting thing about teaching yoga, in my opinion, is that there's not a right way to do a yoga pose. There's not like, we can't just hand you triangle pose and say, this is exactly how it is, now go take it and teach it to other people. Like every body in every moment has a different triangle pose. So it's an intricate art of being a yoga teacher, which I wonder if the yoga teachers would agree that it's an intricate art of like, how can I be present with this person in their yoga pose
how can I see it without assuming a whole bunch about that other human being? From my experience, how can I maybe help this person just have a little more freedom in their body or in their heart, or feel a little more grounded and connected to the earth? I really like to work, whether you want to be a teacher or not, I love hands-on adjustments and just a way of feeling the poses, learning a little bit more how they feel, and also adjusting somebody. You have to kind of look at them and see what's going on to figure out even how you might touch somebody. And of course, we do only with permission. So how about the subtle body? The subtle body? Well, a overriding principle of this practice is what Leslie talked about a little bit, is the koshas. And it's the koshas are from the Upanishads, right, Richard? Or where are the koshas?
They're from all over, yeah.
They're from all over, okay. And it's,
Well,
would you like to talk about? They're what?
They're in Tibet.
In Tibetan yoga too. I'm always like, where do these things come from? And then I can always but anyway, it's a model where we start with the Anamaya Kosha, which is the body, and then we move into the breath body, and then the wisdom, and moving more and more towards from growth, from muscles and bones into wisdom. And let's do the layers, everybody. Body, breath, pranamaya kosha, manamaya kosha, mind, four. Yanamaya kosha, and anandamaya kosha, bliss body. I jumped right over 4 to 5, the bliss body. So what an incredible goal to go from coming into like feeling your body to moving into some sort of bliss as a total North Star. And we might as well just like throw North Stars out into the universe. I think we should too. Boy, we need to, actually.
And I think that same kind of, as Leslie said, that same kind of philosophy from the gross to the finite, or the minutia, is applies to setting up your pose, setting up your class, setting up all of that too.
Also, a really cool thing about yoga poses, we'll start with mountain pose, probably Tadasana, and then mountain poses in every pose. And they just all build. So like if you talk a lot about mountain and then, you know, Urdhva with the arms up and then by the end, you're like, oh yeah, well, this has that, and that. So you understand how to do that pose. So it gets a little easier to teach the poses as the time goes on. We start to like get a little bit more into our physical and our subtle bodies and experience. Are you a Gemini, Darren? Yes. Me too, I could feel it.
Geminis, okay. Their birthday's coming up, I dare say. We'll hear about it. Don't remind you, okay. Well, maybe for just for that. Actually, it's something to celebrate, having a birthday, actually. All right, and then, okay, so let's give the floor to Gaby now for a second. And Gaby is our one of our most popular vinyasa teachers. Her class is packed out, so if you want to come, you're not going to be able to come probably in class pass, or maybe just one spot on class pass. And you're going to have to sign up in advance, and it's going to be really hot and sweaty and smelly in there. And Gaby, talk to us about what you're going to bring to the training. We're teaching the vinyasa portion of it, the cueing and the sequencing, and how your philosophy of all this fits into this overriding.
Yeah. So I definitely, so why it attracts me specifically to like power vinyasa classes and vinyasa classes in general is I come at it from a more like neurodivergent like lens. The faster paced classes that are more quicker and like more breath to movement actually calm my mind more than the slower ones because of the extreme ADHD and like on the spectrum, it actually makes it easier for me to tune into my body. I also am like very hyper aware to like my body and the things around me because of that. And so I kind of like offer a channel to like the people who like might find mindfulness in another direction. And I people of all different age groups. I have like younger people to like people who are like in their 70s doing handstands in my class if you've ever been to them. And my very big philosophy of like same thing as you said, there's like not one right way to do a pose. Like there's a framework, right? I can give you like the blueprint of like the house, but technically like how you decorate it and how you like put the pose into your body is on you, because every time you come into like the room,
it's a different body, it's a different experience, and also like not just in that room, every single time you hit triangle pose, multiple times in the room, it's gonna feel different, it's gonna look different depending on like where you are and like how you control your feeling of your breath in your body in that moment. So the things that like we will like go over in my portion will mainly be like the cueing breath to movement. We're not gonna be able to get to all of it in a weekend, but it's like a very specific skill, which is why the alignment is so important. Because once you cue breath to movement, you don't really have a lot of time to like think about like what should I think about putting in this pose? It's more like looking at the room, seeing what students are doing, and then like speaking to what's in the room. So it's really important to like know alignment from the beginning before we get into the cueing breath movement, and also having like the power and like confidence to like actually speak as a teacher in a room. And the power of being off the classes and being off the classes all the time, you're, for like lack of a better word, you're really like bringing vibe up. It's more of like a roller coaster, right? We start off slow, we warm up the body, and we really like get to a point of a challenging point, and then we like bring it back down. And so like learning to bring the students on that journey, and also telling them that that journey is gonna look different for every single person in this room. And that but at the end of the day, we're all starting it together and we're all ending it together, and we're all getting something different out of it. So that's what we'll be going through mine when we talk to each other, and also like how to sequence, because how you sequence for a hatha class, for a yin class, or restorative class is different for a power vinyasa class. Because we're moving a little faster, you have to be like obviously mindful in like all the classes, but like in the transitions of like open hips, closed hips, for example, just to make sure that everyone's being safe. And knowing how to like offer modifications. In the vinyasa classes, what I tell students is that like nobody knows your body better than you. So if I'm telling you that we're going into a warrior one, but your body's telling you that it needs to lift the back heel up and be in a crescent lunge, then do it. Like that's like, right. The only time you'll see me come up and tap you on the shoulder and maybe like whisper something to you if I see you doing something that like is gonna cause you pain, because I don't want you to go home and have your back hurt tomorrow. But I do want you to like go home and feel like and like understand, like have take something out of that, but feel like you were injured. So that's what we're going through. And I understand that vinyasa isn't for everybody, but it is important to kind of like understand that medicine is different for different people. And I came into this practice for mental health reasons. Specifically, and tried all different avenues, and I get everything. I get a different type of medicine for every different type of class, and I think every teacher has different things to offer. And I always take something away from every teacher that I come from, that I go to. But I keep just getting drawn back to the vinyasa and like the practice movement practice. And I heard some of you guys say like you already did like some trainings. I've done like multiple vinyasa trainings because I really much love hearing how other teachers experience like cueing a pose, or how other teachers think about the philosophy, because every single person comes from a different life and like has a different path, and they're going to explain it differently with a different perspective. And so just like learning and being like diverse of the different perspectives in the room also helps you like understand where your students are coming from. And if I came from like a Mysore practice, which is like a very like primary practice, and so a lot of my poses aren't actually really quote unquote fancy. They're like poses that you'll see in the primary series, but just putting them together in an elegant way and trying to be creative with them so that it doesn't feel so repetitive.
Fabulous, thank you. I think what Gabby's speaking to with cueing and how important the language is. So, I mean, it's important in any yoga class. You have very much less time in a fast-paced vinyasa class. Your cues have to be spot on. And I think learning how to cue, from my perspective, learning how to cue a fast-paced class really informs cueing in general. So, thank you. Okay. Best for last. Richard. You're all the best.
All the Beatles.
But we have to get him to, because Richard needs, and you all need an introduction, but Richard needs the introduction to tell you that Richard actually started the studio. back in the eighties.
Yeah,
What was it? Was it 91 or 89?
No, I'm just kidding, 87.
87. In 1987, he started Piedmont Yoga School on Piedmont Avenue. It moved it to different places. It became different names. And Nest is just the current iteration of this long-standing Piedmont Avenue based or for sure Oakland based yoga practice, yoga studio, yoga school. Richard will always refer to it as the yoga school.
It's been my name for 38 years. I can do the route blindfolded.
Yeah, probably, and tell you everything it used to be and no longer. So I need to have that preface for him because he has taught so many teacher trainings and has trained so many teachers the world over that we all just go, well, what would Richard say? So Richard, I have chosen to have Richard lead the portion of this training, or we have chosen to have Richard lead the portion of this training. That is his real bread and butter. And he's gonna tell you why, but it's his real bread and butter is just pranayama, the breathing practice. He's written several books on breathing. Breathing has been a huge and integral part of his life and his journey. And so I think there's probably, I dare say, in the world, there's probably very few people better to teach you pranayama than Richard.
Oh, well, thank you very much for that, but disregard.
And he's super modest, just FYI.
I'm really glad Leslie set the table by saying Margi Yoga is really strict. That really helps me out a lot. Because all of my training, every last second of it has been Iyengar from the very beginning. So I have a very Iyengar-ish perspective of how to do it practice. I did my first pranayama class in 1743. The last one was 1982. My teacher training began in 1982. It was a 2-year program at the Iyengar Institute over in San Francisco. It was on
Terrible.
terrible. And everybody's been talking about what they do for the practice, but what we start out with my program is what you don't. We all have these sort of obstacles when we breathe. We do a lot of them are conscious, a lot of them unconscious. So the first thing we have to do is we have to acquaint ourselves as find out who we are as a breather as best we can. One of our teachers, one of our real teachers, said before you change anything about yourself, you have to find out who you are. What is before when you change. So the first thing we do in a breathing class is we do shavasana. We're going to do shavasana, which is a letting go practice. And then there's a class that would cover 6 hours, so we really can't go into great detail. You get a taste of it. We'll do shavasana, and during shavasana, I think one of the most important things to learn about yourself is how to witness yourself, which is stand back from yourself and you just watch. And I think it's a very important part of the practice overall. But I think in pranayama you can really learn how to really get acquainted with your witness. Then from there I have a strictly Iyengar approach to breathing, which is very slow and methodical. Some people call it boring, but I think it's very important to work step by step and not. When I was doing my practice, had a teacher that really pushed along, and it was interesting in a way, but it was also very damaging, to be honest. And I think it's very important for breathing in particular to take it step by step. So the first thing I do, I teach a course of pranayama, shavasana. If you look in Light on Pranayama, Mr. Iyengar's book on breathing, the longest chapter in the book is on shavasana. So I think that it's an indication of how important it is. The next thing we do is we do reclining breathing, which is probably unusual for a lot of different schools of practice. But when you lie down, you take away the necessity to sit properly. You can just focus on your breath when you lie down. So we lie down for a class or two, we just get the feeling of how to do that and what kind of props to use to get you into that position of being able to let go. And then we start to learn how to sit. And that's a whole other thing. And before you start to breathe, you have to learn how to sit properly. If you don't sit, it's really hard to breathe. So we go through it step by step by step by step, as much as we can in the time that we have. And, the unfortunate thing about pranayama, it's an everyday practice. I hate to say this, but it's like anything you do, the more you put into it, the more time you get to it, the better it is for you overall. So I see yoga practice in general as a means to live your life. Asana is the way you sit, like earlier, and breathing is the way you talk, things like that. I mean, so I think that the breathing practice is for me is the foundation of my practice now that I'm older. I think it's very important. Everybody who breathes on So yeah, I really I don't leave the house in the morning before. I do it 15, 20, 30, 25 minutes every morning. So I think it's very important. That's it. That's what I do.
Among the other things. That's good. Well, thank you. And being a part of Richard's classes will teach you or show you how to really be a yogi, a person who lives a yogic life. So Richard truly lives a yogic life.
Old yogis never die. They just simply fall apart.
I love trainings at like like
You said those people.
and I said. How, like the breath is being used and how certain postures.
That's enough, everybody.
You're lucky.
Thank you.
Okay, so there you have it. That's some of our presentation. Nicole was teaching our anatomy, couldn't be here today, but she also teaches a class at Nest. Any of these classes, if you'd like to come to, try out these teachers, shoot me an email, shoot the front desk an email, and I'm happy to put you in as our guest for that class. So you can try out the teachers, so you can really understand who, and I encourage you to do that, who is going to be leading this training, who are you going to be spending all these hours with. It's an important thing. So please feel free to try that out. The other things we have to go over are just like the nuts and bolts of the training, but I would rather hear from you. You can read in here. I'd rather hear if you have any questions. And feel free to pipe up on Zoom. Just unmute yourself and say, me over here, because I'd love to hear any questions that might have come up so far. And Perry, do you have a question? Yeah.
Yes, I have a question and a comment.
Okay.
First question is, when you say alignment, what do you mean?
Oh, can I take that?
Sure.
I look at every pose as an energetic structure. And like the foundation of a good building needs to be measured. And I mean, I'm not saying like we're getting the measurement out, but I'm saying like there's a more ideal place for everybody. It's gonna be different for everybody. But so each pose has a more ideal version of it, I'll say that. And I try to teach people to feel that in their bodies. So I call it the ROI, return on investment. I know it's very capitalistic, but I'm going to take it back, because if you're going to make the effort of practicing, you should get as much back energetically. And so you shouldn't feel depleted after a good practice. You should feel actually better after practice. So I think alignment really matters. And I know it matters because I've worked therapeutically. And so, just one thing being off. I just worked with a person yesterday who I was like, you're not using your left leg at all in like Utkatasana, chair pose, right? I was like, you're all on your right leg. And she goes, wow, I broke my left ankle last year. And I think that I started doing that. And she was having really bad sciatica in the side she wasn't working. So like stuff like that, just little things like that makes such a huge difference.
And how could you tell that she wasn't using her left leg?
See it.
And how could you see it?
That's something that comes with experience.
Teacher training.
It comes with experience. Yeah. And we throw in you can see, that's.
But you also mentioned
It's something that we'll be focusing on my portions is looking at bodies and trying to see, what do you see that's out of alignment here? That could be better. Or somebody says, my knee hurts when I do this pose. Let's look at why their knee hurts and see if we can figure it out. Does that help?
That's
Does that help?
perfect.
Yeah. When you first start teaching, you look at things, legs, arms, and then, but after you get some experience, just look at the whole body.
Actually, when you first start teaching, all you're nervous about is like, oh my God, am I gonna run out of time? Or I've got no time, what am I gonna do? Oh my God, I've got 10 more minutes, what am I gonna teach, right? Like, you're totally about yourself because it's new. But then this beautiful thing happens, this arc of teaching for a while, that you're like, you start seeing the people and being with the people that are in front of you, and then you become a teacher that teaches the people in front of you rather than, oh my God, because when you're first teaching, it's new, and you're like, it's like learning a musical instrument. You have to practice, right? And then you can improvise.
Okay.
Quick comment. So I took, my 200 hours of Piedmont yoga, and that's where I'm retreating. And you'll meet, you will have a relationship with your teachers that watch your whole life, even if you never see them again, they'll be in your head. And I just want to say that one of the things that I think is attractive about this program, it's not a weekend thing, it's not 2 weeks involved. And I like the fact that it's spread out over a period of time and you can really absorb, digest, study and learn. And so I think that's important, and that's one of those things about this program. It's going to be pretty thorough and good, and these people are fantastic. And you'll learn a lot, and it will influence how you teach. So I just wanted to say.
And that's a very intention to space it out this way, which I can explain.
10 months.
It was 10 months. So at Nest, the weeks between sessions, we encourage you to come to all of our classes. We will have free access to anything that's on the live stream, free access to anything that's on our on-demand library. And then if you want to come to an in-person class, we have a very discounted package that you can buy. And the only reason we charge for those is spaces. It's a very discounted package to come in person. So that's how we work out with, encourage you to try everybody at Nest. It's hard to pick 4 teachers from Nest to lead the train, 5, 6, whatever. So please feel free to try everybody out. Yes.
Is there a component of taking classes that's a requirement, or it's like highly encouraged, like we should take 4 classes in a week, or what's the commitment there?
That's such a good question. And I think I can speak for, we all may have different answers to that question, but I think overall, I can speak for most of us to say, it's up to you. It's available to you. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. And this is the opportunity this is the time you've committed to this. This is the money you've committed to this. This is the opportunity for you to take full advantage of it. And life happens, and it might not be, and we can't really say how much is going to be the right amount for somebody. So it's completely up to you.
Yes, part 2 of that question.
Yes, part 2.
Are there any other commitments, like TAing a class, for example, my daughter's training, there's a component that, they're supposed to, she needed to TA class, yeah. And I already TA 2 classes at my studio where I practice, so I just wondering about time commitments and
That's option. I think TA is not part of our program necessarily, but what will be part of our program is to observe a couple of classes over the course of the, or I think, I think that's
We
your
have a lot
requirement.
of classes are recorded in gallery view, so that you can observe the class, and those students know that they're being recorded in gallery view. So usually, at least it's in the fine print, and so you can observe some of those classes. And additionally, I would say, I don't know, I can speak for most of the teachers at Nest. If you reach out and say, I'd like to observe, or I'd like to help, assist, feel free to do that. Some classes are just too busy. I would say probably Gaby's classes are too full, a lot of Margi's. So it just depends. But it's, you know, reach out to me and I'll help facilitate that. Very interested in that. Richards are very busy. They're all busy.
I remember the first time I watched a yoga class, I was like halfway into my teacher training and I was like, what? All of that goes on. It was like, I couldn't believe it. It was a very interesting process to watch a yoga class. I learned so much from doing that. And also from taking classes, if you can possibly work it into your schedule to take advantage of that incredible offer, because you just, as you're learning the technicalities of teaching yoga, then you go to a class, you really can see what works, what doesn't work. You know, think about how you want to show up as a teacher if that's what you want to do. A lot of people come into teacher training not necessarily wanting to teach. I don't know how all you feel about that, or just wanting to deepen practice. But then not knowing, or you might not know, but this will be like whether you want to go teach a yoga class at the end or not, it will be an experiential yoga teacher training that you will be teaching to your peers.
In fact, the last weekend, this often comes up, the last weekend is spent where we will schedule out, probably depending on how many people we have and how much time we allot to this, we'll schedule out little segments of teaching. We will teach to the other trainees in the room a segment of something. So we will have that opportunity. And, don't worry about it. No, yeah, just don't worry.
Yeah, the first question is, are there any books associated with the training, like whether it's yoga down or something else that we should try the program? The second question is, so is Thursday and Friday always Zoom? Okay.
Yeah, so Thursday and Friday is always Zoom from 5:30 to 8:30. And again, it's recorded, so you know, you come if you can come, and we hope you can come, because and then the Saturday and Sunday are 12:30 to 7:30, both days, and they're in person and simultaneously recorded on live stream. And as far as the texts, we have the anatomy text. I don't know off the top of my head. I think it's on our website with that Nicole has called out, and I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. And we know we have the Bhagavad Gita by Abhinav Aswaran from Darren. We'll have Richard's pranayama book, the yoga of breath, written by this very esteemed yoga teacher, Richard Rosen, teaches in Oakland, California.
That was when I was in teacher training in New York City, that was our teacher training textbook. Richards. That was my first some guy who wrote pranayama. Now we know him.
Any other books, Leslie?
Well, we've been discussing it.
I've been prodding them about the
I know.
So I'm gonna do that.
So my opinion is that people aren't reading as much as they used to. I don't know if you share that opinion. So for my portions, I'm gonna assign some videos to watch on YouTube. But we will have a manual of some kind so that you can have notes and what's important in each post.
Okay, well, hang on one second. Did that answer the question, Amber? Sort of. How about this? I know that these are questions I've been asking Margi and Leslie for a little bit now. And so we're going to be, we can discuss it. Okay, and so we will absolutely have that, those details ironed out within this.
But it'll be just one book for the asana part.
And so we would purchase these on our own. Yeah. One philosophy, one pranayama, one asana. 3 books, some videos, maybe some podcasts thrown in.
And
Anatomy, thank you. Or required, and we can give you pages and pages of optional.
Any questions online? Nope. Okay. Another question.
It was just more like, just for budgeting. That, I don't know, the investment on it, so I know the price. The membership is how much?
Oh, the class, if you want to take the live classes, it charges $10. So it's a package. You can buy 10 of them, you can buy 100 of them, I would buy 100, but
Gotcha.
Some of them, for sure, you can get in used books. Because they've been around, so.
And on Amazon, you can get them used. Yeah, as far as budgeting, there's no charge for you to join the live stream. And all of Richard, not Gaby's, Richard, Leslie, Nicole, And Margi are definitely live streamed. Yeah, Darren is not live streamed.
And Lori's in them featuring.
You're featured in. We also have the one on demand. So there's a way to do it. Thank you. Good question. This is budgeting is very important. It's not cheap.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll move the chairs away and move out, and we'll get our mats out, and Margi and Leslie are gonna lead us in a little asana program.
Sorry.
That's too good. Again, 15.
Oh, we're just doing the 20 minutes.
The miniest mini.
So does everybody have a map?
And it's up. It's on you.
Map.
I'm gonna put the speaker right up here by you and Leslie, okay?
And let's see, if everybody could have just, I'm thinking 2 blocks would be good. 2 blocks.
The end of all
So if comfortable for you, comfortable enough, we'll sit in virasana. Awkward sweet box. And I'll just put a blanket under the pose, but you don't have to, or you can. You put on 2 blocks. And then just go around and just say your name and 1 word. It can be any word. Go ahead. Brittany.
Kim, Bliss.
Leslie, gratitude.
Very present. Richard Jarrett.
Darren.
Yeah. And Margi, let's take the arms out to the side. Good, so this is gonna be zippy, because with this ends in 15 minutes, so we're just gonna do a little down dog, down low, okay? We're gonna do a little shoulder work first, so turn 1 arm out and 1 arm. 1 arm out and 1 arm, good, and then other side, 1 arm out and 1 arm. Keep going. Don't be fooled by the rocks I've got. And just, I don't know if that song just popped into my head. Okay, so 1 arm in, 1 arm out, and then both arms out. So the palm stays up, even the little fingers might roll a little more up towards the ceiling. And then both arms in a lot. And screw both arms out. And keep going, and as you do this, just notice what happens in your shoulders, what happens in your chest. The very top of your lungs or there underneath your collarbones, what might be happening at the top of the lungs. Do you feel that your shoulder blades are doing? And then let your hands rest down onto your leg. Just close your eyes for a moment. And we talked a lot in the session about the energetic body. Just check in with what that may mean to you right now. Feel energy. Do you feel something percolating? Do you feel some temperature? Whatever. Be open to the energy body and your experience of being embodied right now. I invite you to shift your attention to your breath. Just notice how you're breathing. And if it feels manageable to you right now, let your breath deepen any amount. And as your breath deepens, we just did that shoulder work. As your breath deepens, notice if you can sense any movement from your breath up in your upper body, upper shoulder region. Any movement that comes because of the breath. And just for the next half minute, 30 seconds, can you completely attune your attention to the sensations of your breath in your shoulders? Gently open. You bring the arms forward and up. And then spin your arms such that the little finger side of the arm comes a little closer together. So do you perceive that rotation as internal or external rotation? That's my question for you. Okay, yoga teacher.
Yeah, you're not.
What do you think? What do you feel? What do you feel? What does this mean like? Roll your arms. What do you feel? Okay. Interesting. Okay. Bring your arms out and down. Okay, when we did this earlier, which way, where did you feel internally rotated or externally rotated? Where was there a little more feeling of openness in the chest? This way, externally rotated, right? So in yoga, not always, absolutely not always. Anytime you bind, your arms go internally rotated. But often in yoga, external rotation is emphasized because it creates a little more freedom across the lungs and the upper chest, okay? So when we shortly move into downward facing dog, we're gonna try to figure out that external rotation. So before you do that, come forward, come onto your feet, and just hang over your legs for a couple of breaths. And let your head hang. You can do anything you want with your arms. See if you can have your knees bent probably, unless it's easy for you to straighten your legs. You can spread your toes, open your feet. And then we'll come up through a long spine and all the way up to stand. And then bring your right arm forward, externally rotated, so the palm is facing up. Let the little finger side of the hand lead your arm up, drop it behind your back, take your other hand onto your elbow. Okay. Very common here to sort of accommodate in the ribs, what's happening in the shoulders. So just try to keep the rib cage neutral. And then slide your left hand to your right upper arm and roll it externally. So the outer arm will roll forward. And I like to do this, it feels good to me to do it kind of strongly, rolling the outer arm forward. That's external. And then bring your hand back to your elbow, side bend to your left side. So the whole right side of the body open, the ribs opening like an accordion. And then bring your arm down, stretch the right arm up over the ear. Inhale, come up, second side. Loop, loop, loop. Get your elbow, slide your elbow a little more towards the midline, try to keep the rib cage neutral, exactly. And then bring your hand to your upper arm so the outer arm rolls forward. Sometimes people talk about this as deepening, you might feel like your armpit get a little bit deeper as the outer arm rolls forward. Yep, and then you can slide your hand up to the elbow again, take a side bend, allowing the whole right side to open, the left side to open away from the heaviness of your left foot. Breathing into that left lung, and then release your right hand down, stretch the left arm. And inhale, and come up. Okay, I'm going to hand it to you, Leslie, in 90 seconds. So external rotation, right? But if the story was simple, we would have to do downward facing dog on the back of our hands like this. That's external rotation, right? But hold on to one arm, you can do either arm, hold the upper arm steady, and then turn the palm to face down. So as human beings, we have this cool ability to isolate the lower arm. So in the downward facing dog pose, and of course, everyone's different, there's different stories, but in general, for most bodies, upper arm externally rotates, lower forearm internally rotates. Okay? You want to take over, Leslie?
You want to put them in down dog?
Oh, yeah, good.
You're good. Okay, I'll do it.
You want to do it? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, all right, so everybody come into down dog for a moment. See what we got. So with all that beautiful awareness that Margi just taught about your hands, so grounding the inner hand, which actually takes your forearms and rolls them in slightly, right? What you were doing with Margi was rolling the upper arms out, shoulder out. So another way to say what she was teaching is being broaden or wide in your shoulder blades away from each other from moving the arms. You're rolling the upper arms a little bit towards your ears, your cheeks. And then go ahead and come down. And let's sit for just one moment in Dandasana. So Margi and I talked about this. She was going to deal with the shoulders and I was going to deal with the pelvis. Because, you know, I'm all about the pelvis. So everybody come into Dandasana and see if you're able to, with straight legs, sit on your sitting bones. And for some of us, I'm going to exaggerate, but if the hamstrings are tight, what happens is it pulls your pelvis into this tucked position, or posterior tilt. Everybody feel that? So for some people, they have to sit up, and that's why we give people a little prop so that they can, right? And do you see that this shape is also downward doggish, right? So if we went like that, we would just be in a different relationship with gravity. Right, and so I want you to see, really reach through your heels, keeping your heels grounded, pressing your thigh bones into the earth. Can you lengthen your spine up without rounding your lower back? You're just seeing what you feel, seeing what you feel. Okay, and then take the arms down for a moment. And then I want you to bend your legs just a little bit. And then see now, can you rock yourself up onto the sitting bone without having to take support? It's much easier, right? Because we took the hamstrings out of it. So straighten the legs and feel what happens, right? For some of us, the lower back rounds, and then bend the legs, take the hamstrings out of it. So I call the hamstrings the tyrants of the body, right? Because they're just very stubborn and they want to have their way. So in downward dog, we would like to have the legs straight, but with downward dog, sometimes the legs being straight, you pull on the back, right? So let's work on opening the legs a little bit. So I want you to come down to your back. I gave everybody a blanket so you can have a blanket under your head. And I want us to just feel the difference between rounding the back. So some of you know cat-cow, I'm sure. It's kind of like a baby cat cow. So I want you to gently press your lower back into the floor. So that's called tucked or posterior tilt. And then we're going to arch our back away from the floor, which is called untucking or anterior tilt. So downward dog is in the family of poses that we want to have more of an anterior tilt, but our hamstrings can keep us from that. So let's just do a couple more. And if you want to coordinate your breath with this, you can gently press your back into the floor as you exhale. And then as you inhale, releasing your tail, giving a little space behind the back. And then I want you to decide for you what feels kind of between the two extremes, which we'll call neutral. All right. And then I want you to bring your right knee towards your chest and hold your right big toe with your right thumb, your middle finger, index finger between the first and second toe. And attempt to straighten the leg. It's not about straightening your leg. Don't let go of your toe. Keep a hold of the toe. See how much you're able to. Okay. So there's a lot of variation. A lot of times we do this with the strap, but I want you to hold the toe. Yeah, but you won't be able to straighten it for some of you, right? That's the point. Try to straighten it. But what I want to teach in this particular version of the pose is, can a lot of you feel how your lower back is flattened to the ground because you're really prioritizing straightening? Yeah. So can you bend your knee enough that you can keep your back more in that neutral? Right? And then while we're doing this toe hold version, I really like to teach this version for awareness. Can you feel how your knee just wants to really straighten? Right knee is like, I just want to, can I just straighten? I want you to think about not straightening your leg from your knee joint, but straightening more from the shoe. And that's a slightly different feeling. So the knee is not the doer, the knee is the receiver of the action. Yeah, and that should feel a little less pressure on your back. Okay. All right, go ahead and release. Take a breath. Grab your left big toe. Never know, this might be a good time. So again, it's not about straightening your leg. It's about learning how the relationship of your leg to your pelvis. So all of us have a tighter hamstring. You might be there. Find more left hamstrings are tighter than their right hamstrings. Why? But can you again bend your left knee enough that you're not pushing aggressively the lower back? And then can you tell your left knee to not do everything? So if there was a design flaw in the body, I'd go with the knee. Somebody said, what's the one? Right, it's the thing that tends to wear out. So in yoga, we're trying to not work so much from the smaller joints, but work with the bigger joints, right? So that's why I'm asking you to push your left thigh bone more than your left knee. Can you feel the difference? Yes or no? Yes. So I teach in a way that seems like I'm a rhetorical question, but I'm actually very codependent, so you can say no, but. All right, and then go ahead and release. And then I want you to come to down dog. But I want you to start out with slight bend in the knee. Okay? So think about what you just did. Bend your legs a little bit. And with your legs bent, keep them bent, but can you get a little more height through your buttock, sitting bones? Yes. And then feel what happens to your sitting bones as you straighten your legs. And as you straighten your legs, are you straightening from your knee or are you straightening from the thigh? Okay. Can some of you feel that when you straighten your legs, your sitting bones get pulled down? And then your back rounds? Does anyone feel that? We talked about the depends. Yes. Yeah, feel that? All right, so bend the legs again. With the legs bent, are you able to tilt your pelvis up more? And then slowly straighten the legs from your thigh bones, and then this gets pulled. That's a whole nother class. Calf class. All right, and then go ahead and say child's pose. So one of the primary things we're looking for in our dog is long spine. And so take a quick look. So if I'm gonna imitate really tight hamstrings, if they were really tight and I insisted on straightening the legs, my lower back would get lifted like that. So for some of us, if you bend the legs and you get rid of the hamstring tension, you can come a little bit more into neutral. Do you see that? Yeah, okay. So one of the adjustments we might make, here, have Margi. So to get this feeling that I was trying to get you there by instruction, also to show you, is I would take the belt.
Sorry, I have my hamster falling down.
My cat would go crazy with those. Okay, so I have this in her hip crease because I want the idea to be that her spine is hanging off of her legs, right? So to keep myself safe, I'm gonna put my weight into it rather than muscular and just using my weight. If you see how much she lengthened in her spine. So most people come out of downward dog because their arms are tired. They're not able to get back into their legs enough until they come out because their shoulders are tired. So the more you can get into your legs, the less your shoulders will do. And the legs, of course, are much stronger than the shoulders. So, right? All right, so we're gonna see if she can keep it. I know she's a master yogini, so if she can. Excellent. Yeah, good. Okay, so do we want?
I think we're
You think we're done? Okay,
Well,
well, you're
15.
thinking about maybe doing this.
I think it's 2:15. Yeah, that's the teaser, it's the teaser. That's to be real. A little worse.
So, thank you.
Thank you all very much for all your attention.
And if you want to ask anything individually, I can.
Yeah, if anyone has questions, we're here.
And how much is, I know the Zoom obviously in practice or trying things out as much in Zoom. It pulls the 7.5 hours on Saturday and Sunday be a mix of practice and like.
Correct.
Yeah,
It's not something.
it's not saying no.
No.
Probably start off, that's what teacher is on the day, it's like, because on the days it's gonna be half Margi and half Gaby, so it depends on who's gonna teach the asana practice that day potentially. We don't necessarily have two, but so that each day, those days might be a little bit different, but in general, you'll have an asana practice, a work of the day, and you can identify whether it's standing poses or inversions or what have you. And then you'll do the work at the wall, work on partners, you'll have some chairs, all different basic rocking things, modifications. So we posted out of that practice sequence, the optimal sequence to do, break them down. Is that right? Ladies?
Yes.
Any other training? Any
It's
other?
gonna be good, it's gonna be fun.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, if anything comes up, feel free to reach out. I'm going to be sending you all a link to the I'm going to be sending, an invitation if you have questions to reach back out, which is to have me on me on camera. And I'm also going to be sending in an email, a little promotional opportunity for attendees who sign up for the teacher training. So this will be a discount on the price of the training with the time frame attached to it. So look for the email. Please, I'll come by this afternoon to see later this evening. Yes, the pretty easy question. Sorry, I have a lot of questions. What is the deadline? It started in August. What is the deadline for signing up? The deadline, you can sign up until day before, if we have space. There's a discounted price, our early bird price, which is, the deadline for that is June 15th. I'm gonna send discount opportunity on that. Then we'll have a much tighter window. What's the max class? Max class is 20. So we know more than 20 people in the training.
What about online, if like 20 in person, or what about somebody's in a different part of the world? Then
If someone's in a different part of the world, that's fine. Only
Yeah.
20 people who's fit comfortably in our world.
Oh, such a good question. Thanks for asking that. Yes, the question was, will there be opportunities to teach post-training? And we have five or so community classes a week. And those classes are taught by teacher training graduates. Be it a Nest teacher training, whether it's a Smart Flow teacher training, people who have graduated from teacher trainings that have been hosted at Nest, or 200-hour teacher trainings that are hosted at Nest, are able to teach on a rotational basis those community classes. There's a whole schedule, you can a whole email, you sign up. Yes, definitely. Yes, payment plans are absolutely a part of this, and I can customize them for you, or I have set out one where it's like intros that's set out on the website right now. But if you customize it, I'm happy to find it. Additionally, we charge a credit card fee, or our credit card processor charges a credit card fee on your purchase. If you don't want to pay the credit card fee, it's not $3,500. A big credit card fee. We can take it on Venmo, we can do Zelle. There's a limit to how much Venmo and Zelle you can do in a certain day, so you can do it in a couple of days or whatever. So there's always that option to process the payment that way. Some people like to do it on their credit cards because then they get miles. Completely up to you. That is your decision. But there is an option to do it without a credit card. Any other questions?
Are not part of the tuition. Are there any other like resources that are committed? There are a lot of phrases that cost.
Yeah, just like any other. Well, one of the things that we have a manual. And there's a lot of, we also have in our midst. Like Darren said, we'll be throwing, if I can talk into it. So to Sanskrit education into pranayama. So, there's lots to learn as far as Sanskrit, and we will be using those words interchangeably. Also practice or, yoga practice, physical practice. We'll be using a lot of those words interchangeably. We don't expect you to know the Sanskrit word for triangle pose and all those other poses. But you will get comfortable with them. And we'll be mapping out a sequence, for example, in some of our classes, when we'll do a yoga class. One of the teachers might take you through mapping out the sequence, and they say, okay, we started in child's pose, and what's the Sanskrit word for child's pose? And so I'll go through what the class was, what poses were in the class, and their Sanskrit and English words. Does that help?
That's helpful.
Yes. That's okay. Yeah.
And I was just wondering, so what does that mean here? Are they added to something?
You will get a certificate from me saying that you are Yoga Alliance certified, and then I will also add your name to the Yoga Alliance website as a graduate of our Yoga Alliance certified program. That enables you to name yourself as 200-hour
RYT.
Thank you, RYT, registered yoga teacher at the 200-hour level. You'll be listed in a directory through Yoga Alliance with your name. And you also have access to the Yoga Alliance resources. So for example, I encourage all yoga teachers when they get out of the training program to get themselves the liability insurance. And you'll have access to that and all those kinds of resources through Yoga Alliance. So, and all of this will explain during training, but yeah, that's what that means. And some studios require it, some studios don't require a recognized Yoga Alliance training program. But that's most do, and it's been the standard certainly across the US and across the world. To have that kind of recognized training program. Will be a written test. So,
Yes, there'll be a test.
But it will not be something you have to stress out for months about.
we find that so many people who are drawn to yoga teachers, people that maybe have had bad experiences in the past with tests. Right? It's not that kind of.
Yeah. We'll say, this might be on the test. You might want to write this down. It's just really the way we do it.
Yes, so it's good. Okay.
One time.
Ready?
I think I saw that there, Annie does it too. Annie does it too. How is that different?
So that one, Annie's program, 200-hour is specifically smart flow yoga, her methodology. So she has within that, you know, it touches on breathing practices, philosophy, because Yoga Alliance requires all of that in any 200-hour. But the methodology we'll learn from Annie is specifically her 200-hour her smart flow methodology. And this will have assorted, it has, you know, different types of methodologies. I'll be presented. Well, I'm sure there's gonna be other questions. So keep them coming. I love the questions, I love the enthusiasm. Whenever it comes up, just email me, text me, whatever we need. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Margi and Leslie, and Richard, for being here. Joining us. For your expertise. And thanks you all for your interest. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks. And look out for my email.